The invisible man Marcus Chun adjusted his security badge and began his evening rounds through the gleaming corridors of Sterling International. The 42nd floor hummed with the quiet efficiency of after-hours work, punctuated by the soft clicking of keyboards and the occasional phone call echoing from corner offices. He moved with practiced silence, his presence barely registering to the executives and managers who remained behind to chase deadlines and impress superiors. "Me," Marcus said softly, approaching a group of marketing executives clustered around the water cooler. "I need to check the emergency exits in this section." The conversation continued as if he hadn't spoken. Marcus waited patiently, then cleared his throat. "Sorry to interrupt, but this is part of my required safety inspection." Victoria Sterling, the company's sharp-tongued marketing director, finally acknowledged him with an irritated glance. Her perfectly styled blonde hair caught the overhead lights as she turned, her expression shifting from annoyance to disdain. "Can't you see we're having an important discussion about the Morrison campaign? Come back later." "Ma'am, I understand. But building regulations require building regulations?" Victoria's laugh was cold and cutting. Her colleagues shifted uncomfortably, but none dared interrupt her tirade. "Listen, security guard, we're discussing million-dollar accounts while you're worried about checking door locks. There's a hierarchy. Here, and right now, the grown-ups are talking." Marcus felt the familiar sting of dismissal, the way his uniform seemed to render him invisible to people like Victoria. He'd experienced it countless times during his 3 years at Sterling International. To them, he wasn't Marcus Chun, the man who held a master's degree in cybersecurity, who volunteered at youth centers on weekends, who could speak 4 languages fluently. He was simply security, a necessary but forgettable part of the building's infrastructure. "I'll come back in 10 minutes, Marcus said quietly, maintaining his professional composure despite the heat rising in his chest that Victoria had already turned back to our conversation, dismissing him with a wave of her manicured hand. "Make it 20. We have real work to do." As Marcus continued his rounds, he reflected on the strange duality of his life. During the day, he was invisible, overlooked, treated as though his thoughts and contributions held no value. But at home, he was cherished, respected, loved for exactly who he was. The contrast sometimes felt overwhelming, like living in 2 completely different worlds. He paused at the window, overlooking the city's twinkling lights, remembering Alana's words from that morning. "One day, people will see you the way I do." She always believed in him, even when he struggled to believe in himself. Their love had been built on mutual respect and genuine connection, far removed from the superficial judgments that plagued corporate environments. Marcus completed his inspection route, noting the small details others missed: the loose carpet, tile that could cause someone to trip, the flickering light that might indicate an electrical issue, the unlocked supply closet that posed a security risk. These observations would become part of his detailed report, which would be filed away and likely never read by anyone in management. Tomorrow would bring another day of being invisible, another day of professional courtesy met with casual dismissal. But tonight he would go home to Elena, where his voice mattered and his presence was celebrated. Hidden connections. 3 years earlier, Marcus had never imagined he would find love in a converted community center in East Oakland. The Code for Change workshop met every Saturday morning, bringing together volunteers who taught programming skills to teenagers from underserved neighborhoods. Marcus had started volunteering after completing his cybersecurity degree, driven by a desire to give back to communities like the one where he'd grown up. That particular Saturday morning had been chaotic. The regular instructor for the advanced Python class had called in sick, leaving 15 eager students without a teacher. Marcus had been setting up chairs when he overheard the program coordinator frantically making phone calls, trying to find a replacement. "I can take the class," he'd offered quietly. The coordinator, Overwhelmed and grateful, had barely looked up. "Thank you, but we need someone with serious programming experience. These kids are working on complex projects." Before Marcus could respond, a woman emerged from the back room, laptop bag slung over her shoulder and determination in her dark eyes. Elena Rodriguez moved with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to solving problems efficiently. Her casual jeans and oversized sweater gave no hint that she was one of the most respected software architects in Silicon Valley. "What's the curriculum for today?" she asked, rolling up her sleeves. "Machine learning fundamentals," the coordinator replied. "But honestly, Elena, I think it might be too advanced." "Maybe we should cancel." "No need," Marcus interjected. "I was just offering to help. I've worked extensively with machine learning algorithms in cybersecurity applications." Elena studied him with interest, noting the quiet authority in his voice. "Really? What's your background?" For the next hour, Marcus and Alana co-taught the class, their different expertise complementing perfectly. Marcus explained the theoretical foundations, while Elena demonstrated practical applications. The students responded enthusiastically, asking sophisticated questions that revealed their genuine passion for learning. During the lunch break, Elena approached Marcus as he cleaned up the whiteboard. "That was impressive teaching. You have a gift for making complex concepts accessible." "Thank you. You're pretty remarkable yourself. Those real-world examples from your work really brought the concepts to life." Elena smiled, the first genuine smile Marcus had seen from her all morning. "What do you do when you're not volunteering here?" "I work in security," Marcus replied, then added with a self-deprecating laugh, "though probably not the kind you're thinking of." Their conversation continued over coffee at a nearby cafe, where Marcus learned that Elena was the CTO of a major tech consulting firm, responsible for digital infrastructure serving Fortune 500 companies. She learned that Marcus had chosen his current path deliberately, valuing stability and work-life balance over the high-pressure world of tech startups. "Most people think I'm wasting my education," Marcus admitted, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. "Working security instead of pursuing cybersecurity consulting or joining a tech company." Elena leaned forward, her expression serious. "The most important work isn't always the most visible work. You're protecting people, teaching kids, staying grounded in what matters. That takes courage." Their relationship developed slowly, built on Saturday morning conversations and shared values rather than flashy dates or expensive restaurants. Elena was drawn to Marcus's authenticity, his lack of pretension, his genuine interest in her thoughts rather than her professional accomplishments. Marcus found in Elena someone who saw past surface appearances, who valued character over career advancement. When Elena eventually accepted the CTO position at Sterling International, they made a conscious decision to keep their relationship private. Elena had seen too many workplace dynamics poisoned by assumptions about nepotism and favoritism. Marcus's security position, while honest work, would inevitably raise questions about the relationship's authenticity if revealed. "People will think you're using me for advancement, or that I'm slumming it with the help," Elena had said during one of their many discussions about privacy. "I want to protect what we have." Marcus agreed, though he couldn't have predicted how isolating it would feel to be invisible at work while being so deeply loved at home. Every dismissive comment, every casual slight, felt magnified by the secret knowledge that his wife was brilliant, successful, and respected everything that the Victoria Sterlings of the world claimed to value, yet somehow couldn't recognize in the people right in front of them. The breaking point the morning of the Blackstone Industries presentation began like any other for Marcus. He arrived at Sterling International at 6 a.m., conducting his routine security sweep before the building filled with employees. The executive conference room on the 45th floor buzzed with unusual activity as the marketing team prepared for what Victoria Sterling had proclaimed the deal of the century. Blackstone Industries represented a potential $50 million contract, and Victoria had spent weeks orchestrating every detail of the presentation. Crystal stemware gleamed on the mahogany table. Imported flowers adorned the corners, and the latest holographic projection system had been installed specifically for this meeting. Victoria paced the room in her designer suit, barking orders at assistants who scurried to fulfill her demands. "The coffee service needs to be perfect," she snapped at her assistant, Rebecca. "And make sure that security guard stays away from this floor today. I don't want any distractions during the presentation." Marcus, reviewing the building's overnight security logs at his desk 3 floors below, noticed an anomaly in the network monitoring system. The firewall had logged several unusual access attempts around 3 a.m., originating from an IP address that appeared to be probing the company's client database. His cybersecurity training immediately recognized the pattern as a potential data breach attempt. He printed the security report and headed toward the elevator. Alina was already in meetings with the development team, preparing for her own presentation to Blackstone about Sterling's technological capabilities. Marcus decided to alert Victoria directly, knowing that any security concern needed immediate attention, especially with high-profile clients in the building. That the 45th floor hummed with nervous energy as Marcus approached the conference room. Through the glass walls, he could see Victoria gesturing animatedly to her team, while well-dressed executives from Blackstone settled into their seats. The presentation had clearly begun. Marcus knocked softly on the door, holding the security. "Report." Victoria's eyes flashed with fury as she noticed him through the glass. She excused herself from the clients and stepped into the hallway, her face flushed with anger. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, glancing back at the conference room, where important conversations continued without her. "I specifically said, no interruptions. Miss Sterling, I'm sorry to disturb you, but we have a potential security breach. Someone attempted to access our client database overnight, and with Blackstone here, a security breach?" Victoria's voice rose, causing several Blackstone executives to look in their direction. "You're interrupting the most important presentation of my career because of some computer nonsense?" Marcus kept his voice calm and professional. "Ma'am, this report shows clear evidence of attempted unauthorized access. Given that we're discussing sensitive contract details with Blackstone, I thought you should know immediately." Victoria snatched the report from his hands, scanning it briefly before crumpling it up. "This is gibberish. Numbers and technical jargon that mean nothing to anyone doing real work. Do you have any idea what you've just done?" The conference room door opened, and James Blackstone himself stepped out, his expression concerned. "Victoria, is everything all right?" we heard raised voices. Victoria's face transformed instantly, her anger replaced by a brilliant smile. "Everything's perfect, James. Just a minor interruption from our security staff. Nothing that concerns serious business people like ourselves." She turned back to Marcus, her voice carrying clearly to the Blackstone executives. "Listen carefully, security guard. We are discussing million-dollar contracts in there, real business with real consequences. Your job is to check locks and watch cameras, not to interrupt important meetings with your amateur hour computer theories. If you can't understand the difference between actual problems and whatever nonsense you're reading on your little screens, maybe you should find work more suited to your ... capabilities." The hallway fell silent. Marcus felt the eyes of everyone present, watching the public humiliation unfold. James Blackstone shifted uncomfortably, clearly disturbed by Victoria's tone. Her own marketing team looked embarrassed, though none dared. "Speak up. I understand your concerns about the meeting," Marcus said quietly, his voice steady despite the shame burning in his chest. "But network security affects everyone in this building, including your clients. This isn't something that can wait, Victoria laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. Network security? You're a security guard. Your expertise extends to writing incident reports and checking that doors are locked. Don't pretend you understand anything about technology or business. You're here to serve coffee and watch monitors. Nothing more. She turned to James Blackstone with an apologetic smile. I'm so sorry you had to witness this. It's difficult finding qualified help these days. Some people simply don't understand their place in the professional hierarchy. Marcus stood there for a moment, the crumpled security report at his feet, watching Victoria return to her presentation as if nothing had happened. The Blackstone executives filed back into the conference room, though several cast sympathetic glances in his direction. As the conference room door closed, Marcus realized that something fundamental had shifted. The careful balance he'd maintained between his public invisibility and private dignity had finally shattered. Revelation's Elena Rodriguez stepped off the elevator onto the 45th floor, her tablet ready for the Blackstone presentation. As CTO, she commanded respect throughout Sterling International, her innovative cybersecurity solutions having transformed the company's digital capabilities. She noticed Marcus at the end of the hallway, collecting papers from the floor. Something in his posture told her he was upset, the same tension she recognized from their most difficult conversations at home. Hey, is everything okay? She asked quietly. I'm fine, Marcus replied, but his tone suggested otherwise. Just finishing up before your presentation. Elena entered the conference room as Victoria concluded her marketing overview. And now, our Chief Technology Officer, Elena Rodriguez, will discuss our technical capabilities. Elena connected her tablet to the presentation system. Good afternoon. Before we begin, I want to address a critical security matter from this morning. Victoria's smile faltered. Elena, let's focus on the planned presentation. This directly relates to why Blackstone should choose Sterling, Elena continued, displaying network security logs on the main screen. At 3:15 a.m., our systems detected and repelled a sophisticated intrusion attempt on our client database. James Blackstone leaned forward. You detected this in real time? Our protocols not only detected it, but traced the source within minutes, Elena explained. This protection is exactly what your IPO preparation requires? Victoria interrupted nervously. Elena, our guests don't need technical details. Actually, this is exactly what we need, said Margaret Chun, Blackstone's CIO. We've faced 3 cyber attacks recently. Your response capabilities are impressive, Elena smiled. What makes this remarkable is that the threat was identified by one of our security team members during routine monitoring. His expertise prevented a catastrophic breach. She gestured toward Marcus, visible through the glass walls. That team member is my husband, Marcus Chun. Stunned silence filled the room. Victoria's face went white, while the Blackstone executives turned to look at Marcus with new interest. Marcus holds a master's in cybersecurity and specializes in threat detection, Elena continued calmly. When he brought this concern to my attention, after being dismissed as irrelevant by someone in this room, I realized we had a perfect case study. James Blackstone's expression darkened. Someone dismissed a security breach report? Elena's voice remained professional, but her eyes found Victoria's. Unfortunately, yes. It seems some people believe job titles matter more than expertise or protecting clients' data. Victoria whispered. I didn't realize the security guard was qualified. The security professional. Elena corrected firmly. Whom I married 3 years ago, and who protects this company while being treated with casual disrespect. Margaret Chun stood. Ms. Rodriguez, could we speak with your husband directly about his threat analysis? Elena smiled genuinely for the first time. Of course, Marcus, could you join us? As Marcus entered, Elena noticed how everyone's perception shifted instantly. The invisible man had become visible, not through any change in himself, but through their sudden recognition of his worth. New Foundation's 2 weeks after the Blackstone presentation, Sterling International looked remarkably different. The contract had been signed, worth $60 million instead of the original 50, with Blackstone specifically requesting Marcus's involvement in their cybersecurity implementation. Elena stood in the newly renovated office on the 43rd floor, watching Marcus review security protocols with his team of 5 cybersecurity specialists. His official title was now Director of Corporate Security Intelligence, a position created specifically to bridge the gap between physical security and digital protection. The morning briefings will include both physical and cyber threat assessments. Marcus explained to his team, every department head needs to understand how these elements interconnect. Victoria Sterling's office, 2 floors above, remained conspicuously empty. Her termination had been swift following an HR investigation that revealed a pattern of workplace harassment and discrimination. Several other employees had come forward with similar stories once word spread about the Blackstone incident. She's been replaced by David Kim from the Seattle office, Elena mentioned during lunch with Marcus in the executive dining room, a space he'd never been invited to before, despite working in the building for 3 years. Good, Marcus replied, reviewing the afternoon's security reports. David actually listens when people speak. The changes extended beyond personnel. Sterling International had implemented company-wide sensitivity training, established anonymous reporting systems for workplace misconduct, and most importantly, created cross-departmental respect protocols that Elena had personally designed. How does it feel? Elena asked, watching employees nod respectfully to Marcus as they passed their table. Marcus considered the question. Strange. I'm the same person I was a month ago, but suddenly everyone sees me differently. No, Elena corrected gently. You're exactly who you've always been. Now they're just paying attention. The afternoon brought their first joint presentation to the board of directors, where Marcus outlined new integrated security measures, while Elena demonstrated their technological implementation. Watching him command the room with quiet confidence, Elena felt the same pride she'd experienced 3 years ago in that Oakland community center. After the meeting, they walked to the parking garage together, no longer hiding their relationship, no longer pretending they were strangers in the hallways. Any regrets about going public? Marcus asked, unlocking their car. Elena smiled, taking his hand. Only that we waited so long. As they drove home through the city lights, Elena's phone buzzed with messages from colleagues congratulating them on the successful board presentation. Marcus's phone showed similar messages, respect earned not through revelation of his marriage, but through demonstration of his capabilities. The Morrison account wants a security consultation, Marcus mentioned, scrolling through his emails. And Blackstone referred us to 3 other companies, Elena added. Turns out treating people with dignity is good for business. At home that evening, they sat on their balcony overlooking the bay, sharing wine and comfortable silence. Marcus was no longer invisible, no longer dismissed. But more importantly, Sterling International had learned that respect couldn't be earned through job titles alone. It had to be given freely, based on character rather than corner offices. Elena raised her glass. To new foundations. Marcus clinked his glass against hers, built on what was always there. In the distance, the Sterling International building glowed against the night sky, its lights reflecting off the water like possibilities made manifest. Inside those walls, a culture was changing. One conversation at a time, one moment of recognition at a time. The invisible man had always been visible to those who chose to see. Now, finally, everyone was looking.